Greetings again everyone, and today I'm checking out Nikon's newest and hottest portrait lens, the Z135mm f1.8 S Plena. It's only for their Z mount mirrorless cameras, full frame or aps-c, and it costs an eye-watering $2,500 or £2,700 here in the UK. Better value for money stateside I suppose, but expensive wherever you live. I'd like to thank Nikon UK for loaning me a copy of this new autofocus lens for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. Nikon are touting this thing as being their premium, top-of-the-line portrait optic, and they claim that their design priorities were sharpness, low vignetting, and circular bokeh, free of ugly substructures, with as little cat's eye shaping in the corners as possible. Well, we'll see about all that in just a minute. The yellow Plena moniker is beautifully etched into the side of the lens. The name comes after the Latin word for a jar or space that's full, and the implication is that this lens is a space that can be full of its user's creativity. A little tenuous perhaps, but I do like the idea of premium lenses being given classical names, and the kind of images any 135mm f1.8 optic could give you are, of course, completely epic in their separated and nicely compressed backgrounds, and f1.8 also means you'll be shooting in darker situations with ease. This lens is big, naturally, and at almost a kilogram or a little over 2 pounds, you'll definitely know it's there on your camera, but the lens is mostly made of metal up to the focus ring, which makes it feel very tough and high quality. Surprisingly, for such a premium optic, the lens is made in Thailand, not Japan. Doesn't bother me, but I know some photographers who are pretty religious about their lenses being made in Japan. A weather sealing gasket surrounds the rear mount, and Nikon advertised the lens as being sealed against light weather conditions. Check out the very large rear glass element here. Apparently that is one of the ways Nikon are reducing vignetting and improving the bokeh. It could even be providing an extra large image circle. Just imagine if Nikon were doing that deliberately with a view to bring out a medium format camera one day. We can all dream, can't we? Then comes an auto manual focus switch, followed by Nikon's customizable control ring, which in this case is metallic and turns very smoothly. I'm not a fan of these control rings near the base of the lens. I bump them and turn them too easily, and mostly I just end up disabling them. The lens's aperture mechanism features 11 rounded iris blades. On the side of the body, we get a couple of extra function buttons, and then the large rubberized manual focus ring. It turns fantastically smoothly, and the manual focus response is a little slow, but very precise. As you can see here, the lens suffers from only a small amount of focus breathing. Sorry for the shaky footage, I took this camera in the middle of a bit of a storm. Even my tripod was shaking. The lens employs two STM autofocus motors. They keep the lens focusing quietly, accurately, and relatively quickly, as you can see here, although you might be able to get an even faster performance out of a newer model of Nikon camera. Towards the end of the lens we get a rubber ring that does, well, nothing actually, and then the front filter size is 82mm. The lens comes with a fairly large plastic hood which clicks on positively with a locking button, but it doesn't feel particularly high quality. The lens does not feature its own image stabilization, and that's about it. Nikon's premium S line of lenses tend to be very expensive but have gorgeous build quality, and this thing is no exception on either of those counts. So, let's see about image quality. I'll be testing it today on a Nikon Z7 with its 45MP full frame sensor. In-camera corrections are turned on. As expected on such a lens, straight from f1.8, it is razor sharp in the middle of your images. Over in the corners, contrast is a touch lower, and the truly eagle-eyed will see that contrasting edges aren't quite so well defined, but frankly this is still an amazing performance. Stop down to f2.8, and now the image is razor sharp from corner to corner with truly excellent contrast. The lens stays this sharp down to f11, where the effects of diffraction begin to take their toll just a little, and at f16 the lens is a touch softer again. However, it's pretty much 10 out of 10 for image quality here. I don't think my Z7 has ever been happier. Well, let's turn off in-camera corrections and take a look at distortion and vignetting. We do spot some pincushion distortion being projected here, but the good news is that Nikon have lived up to their promise, and even at f1.8 there's almost no noticeable vignetting. Stop down to f2.8 and any darkness that was there in the corners is now totally gone. The lens has a very nice minimum focus distance of 82 centimeters, bringing you nice and close to smaller subjects, which can be really useful, although it's not a macro lens. The further good news is that image quality at f1.8 is just as sharp close up, and we're not seeing any issues with contrast or color fringing here either. Nice. Let's see how the lens works against bright lights now. At f1.8, as you can see here, some flaring is visible, although it's quite soft looking. Stop down to f2.8 and it's greatly reduced, but still there, and we see a little glaring around the light source itself. Now then, bokeh. Is this lens really all that Nikon are promising here? Well, almost, yes. Out of focus backgrounds look ridiculously gorgeous and smooth. Specular highlights don't see any outlining or weird onion pattern substructures, and cat's eye bokeh shapes in the corners are much lower than any other portrait lens I've tested, even at f1.8, giving those backgrounds a lovely even feel. A simply wonderful performance here. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. So far the lens's performance has been virtually perfect, but here we do see a small but noticeable amount of colour fringing on bokeh highlights. It's not a serious problem though. Stop down to f2.8 and it's still there, but at f4 it's virtually gone. So, have Nikon finally made the portrait lens to end all portrait lenses? I'm tempted to say yes, actually. Everything about this lens, barring its very high price tag, will put a serious smile on your face. It's a virtually perfect optic, and that is no exaggeration. It's possible to get 135mm f1.8 lenses on other systems that are cheaper than this, and about as sharp, that's for sure, but Nikon's efforts to specially design this thing to have excellent bokeh have really paid off, and that's where the lens stands out. So if you're on friendly terms with your bank manager, then this lens certainly comes highly recommended. Wow, what a gorgeous portrait lens. Before anyone asks, yes, I did have to give it back to Nikon, unfortunately, but hey, it's better to have loved and lost, right? Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to all my supporters over on Patreon. They get all kinds of exclusive bonus content and a warm, fuzzy feeling inside for helping to keep these free, unsponsored lens reviews on the road. Check it out in the description below, and ciao for now, everyone.